Hey, what's up guys, it's Yeti here. Welcome back to another video. So this video has a different usage than my other videos. This is something I will be linking to people in my stream that are asking what kind of settings I'm using and sensitivity, etc. And I'll also be explaining why I'm using so they can understand why I have these settings and not just copy them, because that doesn't really help anyone that way. I am using the new YouTube timestamp feature. So you can either use the video player segments or you can go into the description and click on the timestamps over there to quickly navigate through video and skip parts you don't want to otherwise watch. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Also, ranked is coming probably next week at some point. I'm very excited for that. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Let's get into it. So in this first part of the video, we're going to go over sensitivity and how I found it. So I went to a site called mousesensitivity.com and I went simple mode. And I first picked Counter-Strike Global Offensive right here. And then I picked VALORANT right here. And I did 1.5, which is what I used. And I did 800 DPI. And it converted it over to sensitivity. Aim is 0.471. And I basically just took the 1 away. And I'm just using 0.47. That's how I got my sensitivity. You can change your sense daily. It's not a big deal. Some people change it like all the time, some pro players even. But I do think in general, to get the best results is just pick one sensitivity and stick with it. And my big rule is to just never go slower than 180 on your mouse pad, right? So you can do a 180 with your mouse, right? Because some people go super slow to the point where their aim is so lazy and they don't check corners. Don't go too low, but also don't go too fast. So now we're in game, and this is where you put in your sensitivity. 0.47 is what I use with 800 DPI, and my multiplier is on 1. That's what I use. There's nothing else really much to be changed here. I don't think there's any options like raw input or anything like that, so that's what I use. And let's go to the next part of the video. Okay, guys, so in this part of the video, we're going to be going over the video settings in VALORANT. I've already made a video about this previously, but a lot has changed since then. The release of the game and the update 1.01 have actually introduced more differences to the video settings and how we optimize our game. So I was, let's make a longer section about this. And, I've also changed my settings a lot. So a lot of people care what I use. So I'm going to include my thoughts in here as well. So first of all, nothing has changed in general. Using native resolution, you guys should all use native resolution in my opinion. Display mode is full screen for minimum input lag. Monitor, and this is self-explanatory. Aspect ratio method, letterbox and fill does not change for me because I'm on native, as I said previously. I guess fill is better for some people. I'm not sure. But this probably does not change anything for 95% of you guys. Limit FPS on battery I have on. Means nothing. Menus on. Background on. These don't really do anything. Limit FPS always is off. So in game, my FPS is uncapped. And as you can see right now, it's on 430. 440. I'm in a custom game with nobody on the map. So of course, it's way higher than it usually should be. Let's move over to the graphics quality. Multi-threaded rendering is something that was added recently, and you need 6 GB of RAM on your GPU for this to be here. And it basically splits up the tasks of the game between all your cores. I think this is a good setting. I have it on. It should do good. If the setting is here for you, it should be good for you because it means you have a powerful GPU and CPU. Then material, texture, and detail quality. I kind of just put these together in one setting or however I call that. So we're gonna all put them on low now, okay? And as you can see, the game became lower poly. The walls look more washed out. There's not that much depth to the game. It's just fine. It's okay. If you prefer to play the game this way, then just lower all of them in my opinion. There's no reason to have one high, one low. I don't really see a difference. Just put them all on low if you want that, juicy FPS. My FPS did go up a little bit, but I personally don't care that much about having that extra 30 FPS, from 400 to 430, because for the most part, my FPS is just around 140, 160, 200 when I'm in an actual game anyways, and these don't do much in the actual game. So UI quality is actually preference. I'm going to put it on low here. and the circle around my minimap is gone, as you can see. That's like the big change. Another change is when you're in the buy menu, instead of having blur, it's now just like dark. It's just, you know, you can see it's like washed out. If we go back to high, the circle is there again. I use high because it you know, reminds me of Counter-Strike. And now it's actually blurred instead of just being dark. Also for these, as I previously mentioned, I use this on high. All of them on high and UI on high. Then Vignet, I think is how you pronounce this. This is default on. There's no real reason to turn it off. It just darkens the edges of your screen a little bit. It actually does nothing like of importance. This will not make you play any words because like it's not a major, like you can probably barely notice it even. Like if I look like that and if you look at the top of my screen, you can see it's a little bit like, you know, darker. We put it on off. Yeah, so it's not a big deal. It's just a popular effect, I guess, to make things look a little bit fancier. I have it off because I'm just used to think that being off. Then for VSync, I have this off as well. This does limit your FPS to your refresh rate. I would stay away from VSync in 95% of cases, except if you're also using G-Sync, then you want to have both of them on. For anti-aliasing, I have this on 4 MSAA. They've actually removed all the other technologies for anti-aliasing before, which, you know, there was, I think, one more, but they just took it out. So the difference, I would just use either 4 or none. So let's put it on none and I'll show you. Basically, there's a lot more edges here. MSAA is basically fake resolution. It makes things a lot smoother for you. I think in FPS games, that makes it a lot like nicer to play the game. And just in general, MSAA is like a nice setting to have in like games where you want them to look good. But again, if you're going for that, you know, sweet FPS, and if you're like on a low-end machine, then I would, you know, say turn it off. Then for this filtering setting, I can't pronounce that word, I'm sorry. If we put it on 1, and we're gonna look at some textures, you see how washed out it is there? Like right there? Here. On mid-market. The floor has like no texture anymore. It just looks like it's just really, really ugly, okay? What this does is just like, it keeps the textures on floors and walls more consistent the further away you are. It's a nice setting to have. You probably won't notice it much in game. It's just like I just have it on because I'm a streamer, you know, video creator, and I want my game to look as good as possible. Now, improved clarity. I don't really understand how this works. It's a more clear picture, and it's a relatively expensive feature. I don't use this. I think the game's already clear AF, so I don't really need this. And yeah, again, it costs FPS. I would say to have this off. In fact, if you really want to just be a complete sweatlord, turn all of these off. So clarity, I don't use this. I can't really demonstrate this to you either because I never found like any change on any map. Then bloom, it uses like this way to shape the light differently on your gun mostly. Distortion, it creates effects that, you know, like on smokes, etc., that just make a distortion around it. And in first person shadows, this was previously called shadow. I told people to have this on or off, it doesn't matter, but I was getting shit on in my video because, you know, I didn't explain it well. This is only on your hands and your guns. This does not actually mean shadows in game. This changes nothing for you, okay? It's literally just preference. Now when we move over to stats, this is where we can show your FPS. I have text only, and I have a network round trip time text only. Another important one is probably packet loss. But here I would just use a graph so you can see if it's going up or down. Sometimes my internet's being unstable. I turn this on to see. But for the most part, I have that off. FPS is probably the most important one. You can also see your ping on your tab score right here. So you don't really need to have it in the corner, but I just prefer to have it that way. So yeah, that's it for the video settings. Let's move to the next part of the video. Alright, so in this part of the video, we're going to be talking about keybinds. I don't think they are as important as other settings in Valorant because default settings are really good. But I still wanted to go over them because people are sometimes asking me what I use. So there's 2 important keys I have actually changed, or maybe there's like a few more. But first thing first, this is all default. Everything on movement is default for me. Except I have bound jump on mouse wheel down so I can b-hop. B-hopping is not really required, and they've actually nerfed it multiple times. Like, you can't b-hop over mollies, you can't b-hop over Sage Orb anymore. I believe they nerfed all of that, which is fine. it just still looks cool. And sometimes, you know, you should B-hop on some spaces or on some areas. Then fire, normal, alternate fire, normal. And then toggle zoom level is on thumb, mouse, button 2. ADS is hold, sniper rifle aim, hold. That's just what I use because I've recently played a lot of Siege and I just got used to that. You know, in Counter-Strike, I never really used aim, so, or like aim down sight. But yeah, so I hold to aim and thumb mouse button 2 to go even closer. So I'm not like wasting an op level by being a hold player. Just a little heads up for everybody who is also a hold player. You do not lose anything by playing hold. Then on rifles, I also, you know, have hold, obviously. And there's one more setting that I've actually changed that I want to show you guys here. Drop equip weapon is on Y. Use object is on F. And inspect weapon is on G. I think I've actually swapped inspect and drop. So pickup, I think, is default on F. And G is my inspect and Y is my drop because that's just how I had it on Counter-Strike. I used the exact same key setup there. And I was like, if I'm already have that in my mind when playing Counter-Strike, why should I really mess with it? So yeah, that's pretty cool. I think you guys should maybe try out that combination. And then for voice chat, I use thumb mouse button. So one of them is for talk. The other one is for zoom. And I think that's all default. Ping is on Z. That's I didn't change that, I believe.
Watching here.
And then spray is on T, but it's not letting me spray right now. But yeah, that is the keybinds I'm using. Pretty default. The most important thing is to bind jump on your mouse wheel up or down, whichever one you like, and to learn how to b-hop probably. So let's move on to the next section of the video. All right, so now we're moving on to probably the most like useless setting in FPS games that people often think is important, but it's not really. It's crosshair. This is subject to change. If you came from my stream and you're wondering, you know, what's my crosshair at the moment, I can tell you right now that I might have changed this somewhere along the way, but I do have some guidelines that I usually use. So I used color cyan. It's like this light blue. I think it looks really good. I often also use either white or green or yellow or, you know, blue. These are like my most used colors. I stay away from pink and red. I don't think these are good for my eyes. They just hurt my eyes. Outline I have off. And then the most important things are obviously here. I have inner line opacity 1, inner line length 4, thickness 2, offset 2, movement error off, firing error off. And this is how the crosshair looks like. My recommendation is to just use something you like and you don't really have to fuck with it much because at the end of the day, like, I played a game without crosshair and I still did decently well. So that's just my thought process. Crosshair doesn't really make you a good player or a bad player. It's just comfort. Use something you like and just stick with it. So this is what I use. And yeah, let's move on to the next part of the video. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. If you did, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more Valorant content. Also, as I've mentioned a few times, I am a live streamer, twitch.tv/Yeti. Live pretty much every single day, grinding Valorant. And thank you guys for, you know, watching this. And I'll see you around. Have a great rest of your day. Later.